Everybody, welcome to a new episode of Buggy Reviews. Now, I'm a little bit excited for this one because this is a genuine surprise. This was a genuine show that really caught my attention, that caught me off guard, that just really delivered something that we've been sorely lacking in at least the live action department of Superman for a good long while, Let's set the stage here, okay? We've had the CW, which started off its DC run with Smallville, a beloved series, loved by a lot of people, did a lot of stuff with what it could do, really kicked things off. Few years later, they kick off with Arrow, and we start off the Arrowverse, We get Arrow, Flash, Legend of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning, and then even some other stuff like Stargirl or Batwoman, While a number of those did kind of fall and flop, due to poor seasons and poor writing, In this, we were introduced to to Superman and Lois, at least the actors who are going to be playing these versions of these characters, And it seemed like everything was stacked against them, because when they introduced Superman and Lois into Supergirl, you were chugged up with bad Supergirl writing, and this version of Superman kind of being a dip, kind of being a weakling. You had him never be there when you kind of needed it to be, and they never really used him unless they could figure out some way to kind of make him look like a chump. But, yeah. And as time went on, as the CW shows started becoming like more of a bad joke, we got announced that Superman and Lois were going to get their own show, And of course, with anything, I was skeptical, because it's like, it's CW, I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, when's it going to get to the point where it's like, oh, okay, is it going to be like one of those shows where Lois Lane is the real main character of the show, and Superman's just more of a background character? Is it going to be like someone who's berated all the time for everything he does? And I'm like, I'm expecting the worst, because so much has happened where you are hyper-fixated on it. You're trained to see it. You're reacting to it, and you're just wondering, when is that shoe going to drop? But then, craziest thing, it didn't drop. Like, nothing happened. It was a good show. Lois Lane did not berate Superman at every turn. She was supportive. When she had an issue with Clark, it was a genuine issue that you could understand from the character's point of view, and it wasn't like some writer's bias or fetish or anything going into it. It's like, oh, this makes sense for why the character's going to act like that, And it deals with a lot of interesting stuff. Like, it's Superman and Lois, they've got kids, teenage boys at the start of the show, Superman's been at this gig for about 20 or so years, and he moves his family to Smallville after the death of his mother, so they move back into his childhood home, and there he reveals his identity to his two sons, because he never told them, and this kind of starts off the show, more or less. It's very heavily a show about the family, the Clark Kent family. The Kent family is the core group in the show, and because you have Clark, you have Lois, and you have their sons Jonathan and Jordan, and at first I wasn't sure, because I was like, oh wait, I don't remember Clark having two kids, and it's like they do some stuff with the comic accuracy where they play around with it just a smidgen, but they're pretty faithful enough to it. Like, there are moments where there are shots that are just ripped straight from like a cover or a particular image. Like in the first episode, you see Superman in the classic like first appearance Superman outfit, and he's like holding a green car, and it's like just like the cover. And even in like stuff like season 4, there's just a shot of Lex Luthor, who is in the show. Actually, he pops in at the later seasons. It's just him putting on a suit, and when he like turns, and it's like, oh, that's a popular image of Lex. You know, if you look him up, and it's like you match him up, and it's like it's perfect, right down the way the suit is pressed and looking, and it's like, oh my god. And it's like there's a love and care for this, you know. There's a genuine like passion for this to write not only a story about Superman being a father to 2 boys, you know, that develop superpowers and trying to deal with that, and while trying to protect the world because he's Superman. And it's in this version, he's the only like superhero on the planet kind of doing anything. So if you are worried about like, oh, do I have to watch all this Arrowverse shit to like really understand? It's like, no, you don't. You really don't. Don't worry about it. You can just jump in on this one perfectly blind to everything else and not even have to worry about it, you know, and you will be all the better for it. Trust me on that. You know, so you know, and there's it's like Clark wants to be honest with his kids. He wants to, you know, try to do what he can to, you know, to help them get along in life. And of course, shenanigans, as one happens when you happen to be Superman, start to occur. You get various characters popping in and out, trying to start up crap. You got Clark just trying to more or less deal with things, and, you know, Lois is supporting him and doing all this stuff, you know. Real emphasis on, like, family and the chemistry. The chemistry. Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tulloch, if I'm saying those names correctly, I hope I am. But they have an amazing chemistry together, because they really sell the idea that these two are very much in love with each other, and that they are a married couple. Like, there is a degree to it that they like genuinely love each other and care for each other, you know. And Tyler Hoechlin, bless his heart, he does an amazing job as Clark Kent. You know, the way he portrays it, he can portray it like when he's doing normal Superman stuff, you know, the lovable Boy Scout, you know, giving a hand and a wave while he's fighting. He can also maintain that seriousness when he needs that raw edge to it, but it's not like Zack Snyder edge. It's like when it's time to get serious, it's gonna get serious. And then you have the more bumbly, you know, kind of clumsy Clark Kent, you know, bit that he does really well. He does a pretty good like combination of all of this stuff, and it really works. Elizabeth Tulloch does an amazing job as Lois Lane. You know, she sells it, her performance, and even later on, I think it was about season 3 when they start doing like some stuff with breast cancer. You know, she really sells it in her performance. You know, and that's another thing. You would think hearing this kind of stuff is like, oh god, they're doing a breast cancer story. Like, what's that whole thing? You know, but it's like. But it's not like, oh, let's just do it for lecture or whatever. It's done with a story. The story and how the characters act, you know. And I was thinking all these red flags were going to happen, and it's like, no, it's a story. These are characters. They understand it. They treat you like an adult. They treat like, hey, here's a story that we could do with these characters, you know, and we're going to do it, and we're going to be faithful to the material. You know, even if there's like some like small smidgens here or there, like I'm gonna spoil obviously some stuff here a little bit, but the first season, I thought they were teasing off this character that pops in, you know, and suppose they wanted to make you think, oh, is this Lex Luthor? But the thing was, the guy's black, and you're thinking, oh, okay, Race swap. Okay, typical CW. Here we go again. But then they reveal it. But the reveal, and it's like, oh no, it's not Lex Luthor. It's John Henry fucking Irons, aka Steel. And they do it in a way where, because they give him the Steel suit looks not quite like the comics. You know, it's very, it looks kind of like a Doom guy outfit. And the story of it is like this is a John Henry from another world who gets a hold of a LexCorp suit of armor and he uses it. And the funny thing, that actually comes into play in the final episode of the show. You know, and they do a number of things where there'll be some like little bits you're like, okay, I kind of see some comic stuff, but then it comes back. Sometimes it might be a season or so, but it comes back around and you're like, oh, they were teasing that off, and it's like, oh my god, that was beautiful. You know, another thing about this show is the seasons are relatively short. They're about 10 to 12-ish episodes. They're not like your typical CW affair where it's like 20 or so episodes. You know, it's very like low episode count, and you know, CGI on a TV budget is kind of iffy, but like they really know when to use it. Like they save it for when they gotta do stuff, you know. So sometimes it might not go well, but it's like you can see that they're doing an attempt, you know, and they're doing everything they can to like make sure, hey, this is what we want to do with the Superman. We're depicting him properly, you know. He's got the red heat vision, he's got the super strength, the cold breath, all this stuff. And even when he's fighting like all these crazy characters and whatnot, you know, we're gonna do what we can, you know, even though it's a TV budget. And they do pretty well for what they've got, you know. There is genuine care for this. This isn't just like, oh, let's just throw in some crap and then call it a day. No, there's some genuine care, even if, you know, they don't have the funding for it, which really tells you a lot, that they really give a damn. But yeah, like aside from the Kent family, you know, the core group, you have some side characters from Smallville, like some friends of Clark and Lois's. Then you do get some like snippets of side story, which I would say is the only like negative I've had, because it's like whenever they focus on like those characters' stories, it's like I don't really care that much for you guys, because it's like, okay, you're supporting characters, that's cool, but I kind of don't care. I only care about like the Clark Kent family, and then, you know, Steel and all these other supporting characters that actually do a lot of more of the superheroic stuff. It's like, you know, I'm not saying they're all terrible, but it's just like, you know, those side characters, like, I don't think I really cared about those guys, you know. The action is pretty good for what it is, you know. There's a lot of good fighting and, you know, good spectacles. You know, does what it can. And then, it's just so strange to describe this. It's like, it's a show with heart. It's a show with care. It's a show about a dad, you know, trying to raise his family in this world the best he can while balancing the duties of being Superman. And as time progresses, it's like him accepting, that he can't just protect his boys from the world out there, that eventually they have to step into the fray, and even that Superman needs help at times, you know. It's that evolution, you know, it's always about that family. And one of the beautiful things about this is this Superman, he can forgive. He can, you know, he can forgive you. He can help you rehabilitate, you know, try to make you a better, productive member of society if he can, you know. Even some enemies who've done heinous acts upon him and his family, he will give them a chance, you know. even after all of that, for a chance to redeem themselves and to forgive themselves, you know? And it's kind of just, it's something interesting about that, just something wholesome, pure about it. But yeah, this is a genuine show that I would recommend people to watch. I know that the stigma of the CW and the Arrowverse stuff is a cloud that just cannot be escaped from. But this is a show that surprised me. This is a show that was stacked against every handicap you could imagine. With people not sure if this was part of the same universe as Arrowverse stuff, given that the writing of Supergirl wasn't really doing too well for Superman in this paper. The Arrowverse as a whole wasn't doing well. The CW kind of having a bad joke and as a trope. You know, you don't know. You know, but this show, above all else, it took that challenge. It took that chance and it said, hey, we're going to make a beautiful show. You know, we're going to make a show about these characters having these great fights, these great moments. You know, we're going to be faithful to the comics. We're going to have a little fun with you a bit, but we're going to be pretty faithful to what we get in the material. And we just want to bring you a beautiful story with a start, a middle, and an end. And there is a conclusive, end in the finale. You know, so it's you get a good all-around package. And that's just something rare. You don't really get too often, you know. It knows what it is, and it strives for it, and it does it really well. So yes, I would strongly recommend it. It's only 4 seasons, about 10-ish or so episodes per pop, so you're looking at about maybe 40 episodes. Nothing too crazy, but I'd say you could definitely enjoy this if you want a good, proper, faithful, live-action Superman that really captures the spirit of the character, just almost like as if he walked off the damn comics themselves, you know? That's what I believe in. So, Superman and Lois, highly recommend it. Please check it out. Now, have you seen this show? If you haven't, what are your thoughts? Please leave them down in the comment section below. Also, if you have anything in the superhero genre you want me to cover, please leave them down in the comments in the replies section below. I like to read those and see what people think. Also, I have some projects that I've got in the works to pop in. I'm not gonna name them because I don't want to jinx myself here, but there's stuff coming in the works. You know, we're getting there. Had a little bit of a backlog, but I think we're gonna get onto some stuff, you know, and I might even have something interesting to kind of announce here or there, depending on in a couple weeks' time. At the time of this recording, I'll let you know. But with that said, everybody, I'd like to thank you all for coming along and watching. See you all in the next video. Goodbye.
The dust and stone, where the echoes of battles are overthrown. Born in the forge of a distant land, Buggy merged with a